business environment. We have our special co-host as well, Charlene De La Cruz. Charlene, can you say hello to everyone?
Hi, everybody. Here's your girl, Charlene. I'm so happy to be with you guys. I know that this is a new way of interacting with Tanya and Tony as we do our radio show, but I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. Today, we especially wanted to make sure that we reached out and connected with you because there is so much happening in our environment, particularly in our business environment for our small and diverse firms. And we want to make sure that we're sharing with you all of the information that we have and that's new to allow you to be able to continue to thrive and be prepared to get back to work on all of the projects that you are involved in. Tony will be joining us in just a moment. He's having a little connectivity problem, but he will be here, so fear not. And thank you again for sharing this time with us. Charlene, how has it been for the small businesses? I know they call you often, and tell me what's going on out there.
Well, Tanya, it's been very difficult for a lot of small business owners. I've actually been on the phone with the majority of our cohort of the CU Grow Vendor Development Program, and I've been on the phone with them, and it's really tough for them. A lot of them are just very nervous and anxious, and they just don't know what's going to happen next. They've had to suspend a lot of their work because it's not essential for them to continue to work under this pandemic situation. So I've been trying to offer them resources and information in terms of the SBA disaster loans, the Paycheck Protection Program. So just so that they have that information, any information that I see available, I try to push it out to all the small businesses so they don't feel like they're alone throughout this pandemic situation.
That's really important. And one of the things we first want to share is that Columbia University has the Columbia Harlem SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, which is an award-winning center. We've had the top financial consultant in all of the SBDCs in the state of New York for the past 2 years. And they have been at the forefront in helping businesses understand what they need to do and where they need to be as far as getting funding under the SBA programs that have rolled out. One of the things that people were not aware of is that the way the program was rolled out, it was necessary for you to have a banking relationship. Yes. And to go to your bank in order to be able to apply for the loans. We think that's a disservice to a lot of businesses in our community who may not have banking relationships. And so as they look at this next round of funding, they've made it clear that they want CDFIs and other community banks to be part of the loan program because those are often the organizations that our firms in the community are dealing with. So we'll look forward to that next round of funding. But have you heard that as well, Charlene?
Yes, I actually did. I participated in a very informative webinar last evening, actually sponsored by Gail Brewer. And she had all the top organization there. They actually had Greg Bishop, Commissioner of the Small Businesses Services. Karen Neal Simmons from the Small Business Development Center was also there. Kenya Brew. And there was just so many people that were there that just gave so many information that are going around. And that was actually one of the issues that really affected a lot of small businesses. I can actually attest for one of the firms in our cohort, he actually doesn't have a business relationship with any banks. He unfortunately follows an antiquated version of dealing with businesses. He just goes to the bank himself. So he doesn't have that business bank relationship that other businesses should have. So I did recommend him to work with the Small Business Development Center because I believe that they actually extend their relationship to firms that don't have.
And so when we talk about a banking relationship, typically that means a organization or a financial institution from which you've got either a line of credit, a
Right.
business banking account, or an actual loan in place. And for those of you who don't have that, I would recommend that you reach out to your community banking organizations, Spring Bank, True Fund, um, the different banks that are located in your community that are not nationwide but are smaller. Meet them, introduce yourself, and let them know who you are and start sharing your information. So when the next round of funding comes out, you'll have a go-to institution that can help you apply for the needed resources. The shame of it is that even the 250 billion that they put out in the first round, there are more applications that are in place right now and waiting than can be funded by that 250 billion. That's how great the need is for our small businesses.
No, it is. It's an immense need. I've spoken for all different levels of businesses that are very well established and they have millions and millions of dollars in revenue versus to entrepreneurs that have a few $100,000. And for them, the need is there. They need to know that they can still hold on to the employers, their laborers. They want to make sure and they want to do right by their businesses and the people that are their stakeholders.
Yeah. And if you're interested in how you can get help from the Columbia Harlem SBDC, we would suggest you just Google Columbia Harlem SBDC. They have a terrific COVID-19 website that they've created, and they have PowerPoint presentations that show you every step of what's required in order to be able to file a loan application with these SBA grant and loan programs. Once you've actually filed your application with your community bank or CDFI or whomever you're applying through, they can then help you to see where your application is in the queue, as well as to help with the banking relationship and helping you get questions answered about your prospective loan or grant. So now is the time to make sure that we have the resources to connect with all of the organizations that can provide help. And we're going to show you, talk to you about additional information. But remember, Google Columbia Harlem SBDC, and you'll be able to go to their website that shows you all the information that you need to apply for these loans and grants, strategies on how to survive between now and when business opens up again. I think you all know that Governor Cuomo issued an executive order for the construction industry that all non-essential construction had to stop. So Charlene and I are working right now with many of the vendors that work with Columbia University to help them understand the things that they can be doing in the meantime until we get the order that construction can resume again. And this includes making sure that your prime contractors who you've been working for are aware of your status, of your readiness to go back to work, and you stay in touch with them to get a sense of when that might be for them. Every project can be different. So we suggest you coordinate with the people that you're working with. Make sure you're staying in touch with your workers and your subcontractors, because everybody is not going to come out of this in the same position. And you want to make sure that the people you rely on to deliver your services are going to be there and ready to go back to work when it's time to do that.
No, absolutely. I think those are great tips, and those are mirrors a lot of what I've been discussing with a lot of the participants in the CU Grow Vendor Development Program. I almost try to remind them that this is a silver lining, really, on what's going on, because a lot of their work has stopped and it's just now suspended. That they can now focus on the processes and the policies that they have in their business, so that when it's go time, they're ready.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, a lot of these resources are kind of being gobbled up quickly. One of the examples is that New York City launched a loan fund, an emergency loan fund for businesses that had additional funding needs. And that was absorbed quickly, and it's now closed and will only reopen again when they get additional funding from the federal government. So when you see these opportunities, we suggest you jump on them quickly and get your applications in, because the resources are being absorbed at an amazingly rapid rate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know based on that webinar that I participated yesterday, they have been advocating on the federal level to administer additional funding, but it's very hard to determine when those fundings are going to be available. But the most important thing is that as vendors, you need to submit your application. If you need to have a business relationship or if you need any other resource, please contact us.
We want to talk to you about some other areas of support. Xerox Corporation, which has really has a great commitment to the Bronx, has a number of promotions and programs that they have implemented to help companies to either reduce or eliminate their technology operating expenses for up to 3 months. So if you are interested in an Upper Manhattan or Bronx company and interested in getting access to some of these technology resources from Xerox, we urge you to email Brian Uraby at Xerox.com, and I'll spell that out. It's BRYAN.URIBE at Xerox, Xerox.com. And they can help you with resources. You may need a platform to be able to do web conferencing or help with your internet expenses. So reach out to Xerox and to Brian Uraby at Xerox.com, and they will help you figure out how they can assist with your technology needs as a small business. Also, I think a lot of our businesses, Charlene, are struggling with how do they deal with their insurance policies or contracts or HR related matters. We're happy to report that the City Bar Justice Center is offering free legal services to small businesses to help with things of that sort: insurance policies, contracts, leases, and HR related matters. And you can reach them through NELP at citybar.org. NELP is the national, okay, I'm going to tell a fib here. It's the National Law Center that helps small businesses pro bono, but their email address is NELP at citybar, CITYBAR.org. I'll say that again, NELP at citybar.org. And they have a legal clinic that you can participate in, and attorneys that will help you pro bono to figure out some of the legal issues you may be struggling with during this pandemic. Another wonderful organization is the Bronx Community Loan Fund, and that's the Bronx Economic Development Center. They have an application. It's only available through email, and you can reach out to them. The application is for a loan of up to $100,000, and you can reach out to them through the email address of mnixon at boedc.org. I'll repeat that. It's mnixon, MNIXON, at boedc.org. If you're looking for a loan to get you through some of these tough times, it's a continuity loan fund. And if you email them, they will reach out to you and talk with you about what the eligibility is for that program. One of the things that I was thrilled to hear is that the New York Department of Education is offering their free food grab and go program, not just for students and parents, but for anyone who's hungry. You can reach out to their www.schools.newyork.nyc.gov//school-life/food /free meals. So you can go to one of their pickup hubs, no matter who you are, your age, whether you have children in school or not, and they're offering 3 meals a day to anyone who's hungry. I think that's such an important thing right now because so many people have lost their employment and don't have access to the resources to get food.
Absolutely, I completely agreed. It's very difficult that people can't, afford to buy basic needs. And also, just to add on to that, Tanya, you can also text 877-877 and text food to that number. And then you can find your local area that can provide you a free meal.
That's great. One of the things that we have seen, Charlene, is that so many firms are working to quote unquote reinvent themselves and provide services that they otherwise may not have provided, but are needed during this economic downturn. I know we've got a couple in your program that have talked about things that they can now do that they didn't normally do before this period. Can you give us a few examples of that?
Oh yeah, of course. We actually have one of our alumni, Watt and Flux. They're actually a lighting and LED lighting company, and they pivoted their business to do decontamination services for anybody they needed. They actually have this very interesting technology where they would actually mist any kind of like equipment, so it wouldn't be very a wet substance that would damage or tarnish the material. Is a very innovative material that they would actually decontamination solution onto different areas, just to kind of like battle all of COVID-19. Another option that we've actually contacted, it was our alumni Tiger Box, which has actually been helping or has proposed to help us in terms of moving our students out of their dormitory and packing all their stuff. They actually have a very great innovative solution of tracking all the devices that they pack. It's one of the things that it's actually creating inspiration from other companies to try to shift what they're normally dealing with and try to help other people in this moment of need, because everything has happened so quickly that we have to act a little bit faster than normal. And I'm actually very proud of our alumni and all of our small businesses that have been doing that as well.
And Charlene, just today, someone emailed me the question, is there anyone that I can reach out and contact to help me with a contract for doing business with the government or an RFP? And many people don't know that the New York Business Solution Centers offer pro bono legal services to firms to look over a contract for them. And that's something they can take advantage of. Charlene, can you give your contact information? Because I know so many people reach out to you and there are so many different resources, so that maybe
Absolutely.
can touch base with you to find out more about the specific area where they have a need.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody can always reach me at cu-grow@columbia.edu. I am very responsive to all the emails that I receive, and I'm always constantly receiving different correspondence in terms of webinars or trainings or, additional procurement or informational events. And I try to push that information out to our alumni and to whoever's on our contact list. So it's a lot of information. I do a lot of the times I do send a lot of emails throughout the week just to let people know of what's going on. And I also send it through our LinkedIn page. So it's very informative, and I always want to share as much information as possible to a lot of the people, especially small businesses that are experiencing kind of this moment of uncertainty. It's important that they have some information that can guide them to the right direction.
That's great. Just today, and I know a lot of employers are struggling with HR issues. Do I keep people on? Do I lay them off? What is their ability to get resources and help through unemployment? I saw what I thought was a terrific HR chart today on unemployment and whether you are someone who is at home because you're caring for someone who's sick, or someone who's been laid off, or even someone who's just had your hours reduced. There are resources out there for you. This chart can be located on the NELP website, and that's NELP, NELP let me just make sure I've got this right. At nelp.org, I believe. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yep,
Yeah.
that is correct. It is nelp.org, LELP.org. And again, Tanya, it's a very informative chart. It actually asks questions. And based on those questions, they give you additional chart that can kind of travel you to the right resource that would apply to you.
So
So it's very informative. And I think that this would definitely help a lot of small businesses because they're not necessarily accustomed to situations like this. I know that a lot of the firms in our cohort, they have, you know, kind of like kept half of their employees and they're kind of rotating them out as an example, just so that they make sure that they're helping everybody, but not, letting them out completely out the workforce. So there's a lot of innovative ways, but I feel like this chart can give you definitely clear directions, especially from a human resource standpoint.
that's right. Now, Tony, I see your name. Have you joined us? Okay, I think he's threatening to come on the air.
I think Tony's left us again, Tanya.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's all right.
So, Charlene, one of the things that we've been doing for our firms that we contract with, we're planning a seminar tomorrow to
Yes.
tell them what's going on with Columbia, what's going on with our construction, the facts that, we're continuing to pay invoices. We're asking them to make sure that all of their contact information with us is up to date. This is a really good time to make sure that their I's are dotted and their T's are crossed. We have a lot of firms that may have had their certificates of insurance expire or their MWBE certificates. What can you say to the firms that they need to be doing about getting that important paperwork in order so they're ready to go as soon as business starts up again?
I would definitely recommend them that this is a time to be very proactive. This is a time to just make sure that everything is set in place, because once the governor says that they can open up and do a non-essential work again, this is a time where you don't want to spend that time working on the things that you should have been working on it now. So you want to make sure that your status is up to date, make sure that all your minority and business owned certificates are up to date. You also want to make sure that all of your insurances, like you said, Tanya, are up to date, that your contact information is up to date, and that you're responding to people that are emailing you about opportunities that are up to date. A lot of the times we have sent emails to firms on information that are going on and they bounce. And again, you're not receiving the information and you're losing out on that opportunity. So I definitely encourage all small businesses to be very proactive, be in top of all of your policies and your processes, and make sure that everything that was kind of like detaining you back then when all of this was happening, make sure that it's not going to detain you when we start back up, because definitely we'll be back from all of this.
And another really important area for our businesses to think about is the rent. It
Yes.
comes every month without fail. I'm glad to report that Columbia University was in a position, or is in a position, where we were able to give all of our retail tenants 2 months free rent for the months of April and May. And we've done that because we depend on them like they depend on us. And even though our students aren't on campus now, they will be back, and they need those restaurants and other businesses, stationery stores, copying shops to be in business. And so we're trying to do our part to make sure that that happens. But what I want to say to our small businesses that are listening today is, when the subject comes up of the rent, I know when you can't pay a bill, you don't want to face it. You want to just kind of cover your ears. I want you to do the exact opposite. I want you to call your landlord, let them know what's going on, and see what they're willing to do for you in this unprecedented time. They'll appreciate it more that you reached out to them and let them know what was happening with you, and get an understanding of what they're willing or able to do for you. People always appreciate information. So as much as you don't want to make that phone call, I urge you to pick up the phone, call that landlord, and they'll appreciate you even more in the future.
And Tanya, I can't agree with you more. Even with my talks with different participants in the program, that has been actually their approach. They've been very proactive. They've spoken with their landlord, and they've actually reached an agreement with their landlord where they don't feel constricted to pay a full amount of their rent. So I definitely encourage everybody to do that and be proactive, have an honest conversation with your landlord, and let them know the situation that you're in. Maybe you're pending to receive a loan and you just need a little bit more buyout time. So definitely having that conversation will be pivotal for your information, for your business.
That's right. And the other thing that happens in a time like this is that a lot of the normal services and products that are being delivered are closed down, but there are other avenues that open up. I know we had to go out and find a company to do dry sanitizing of our shuttle buses. We never had to do that before. There are a whole lot of cleaning and other needs that were not as we certainly cleaned before, but not to the level that we have to do during a pandemic.
Right. It's a very specific cleaning, and that's where I know that Wine Flux offers that solution. I know that also there are other companies that are looking into that option to do that decontamination of services because right now their business has suspended, so they have to look at other ways to make a business profit.
We are also currently looking for site safety inspection firms. When the DOB closes down projects, you can't just leave them closed. They have to be inspected weekly to have someone sign off that it is a safe area and not a problem for the public. And so we didn't have enough of those firms to get this done on a weekly basis. So if you're a site safety inspection firm, give Charlene and drop her an email, and we'll see if we can't connect you with that opportunity.
Yeah, and my email is cu-grow@columbia.edu.
The other thing that, and Charlene, I think you're the perfect person to be on about this because I know that people are dealing with sick relatives, dealing with working at home, dealing with schooling. We're going to have a huge appreciation for teachers when this is all over with because everybody's homeschooling their kids and they're like, okay, when is school opening again? But I think you had some challenges around that, and we were able to find a solution to get you more bandwidth to be able to manage that, right?
Absolutely. And I appreciate that so much because it's such an important thing. Again, me personally, I'm working remotely from home with my husband, my two children, and my daughter who actually has to do online learning. My husband is doing online and I'm also online. So we have we've maxed out our capacity of using our internet. And I've actually had the privilege to get the support from Tanya to get, a little bit of hotspot when moments like this brought up where I can't necessarily do a Zoom meeting and then be on the computer at the same time because I would get knocked out. So I definitely appreciate that. Definitely feel supported by my mentor that I can do the work that I need to do from home. Being a quote unquote professional and a teacher mom to my daughter has been a little difficult, but we're definitely making it through. We're making strides as we can go by. It has been very interesting. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate teachers now. I didn't appreciate them before, but now I appreciate them even more because the amount of work that needs to be done, especially for a fifth grader and for a pre-K, it's not easy at all. It's very difficult, and it's very difficult to explain to a 4-year-old that we are doing we're doing schoolwork from home now. You're not going to school, you're going to be home. And that's very difficult.
Yeah, I just want to stop for a recognition of the program. This is the MWLB Corner. As I mentioned at the start of the show, we broadcast the second Tuesday at 4 p.m. On the Urbanology Art of War platform. We're still thinking our host is going to jump in here, Tony Rogers. I know he's been trying. We've seen his avatar come up and go down, but like everybody else, he's challenged with his technology situation today. But our goal and our objective is each week to make sure we bring you the most up-to-date, important information that's happening for MWBEs and for diverse firms in the city, and particularly for our Upper Manhattan businesses, to help you thrive and continue. So, Charlene, I was looking at the environment right around my house. I live in Upper Manhattan, right near the university. And it's very frightening what you see when you walk up and down the street. There are so many, particularly restaurants, that are closed. There are stores that have shut down because, there's shelter in place going on and the traffic isn't there. And I'm just trying to figure out how we're going to bounce back and return from all of this. And I think we would be naive to think that everybody's going to be able to come back.
I definitely think we would be very naive. We definitely have to do it gradually, just as our governor stated before. We can't necessarily jump right back on and act if nothing happened. I definitely do agree with you. There are a lot of stores around my neighborhood that are closed. Stores that we kind of depended on in the past, and now we can't necessarily order from, or we can't. We just been cooking more from home and just being very united in the forefront. That's one thing that I have in terms of gratitude, that I'm able to have this moment with my family and that we're safe and healthy. But that's not the case for everybody. And that's when you have to, have a little bit of gratitude. And also, but again, we definitely have to consider going back into the real world and back to our normalcy with a little bit of gradually, because it's not going to happen so easily. I think it has to be done in steps. I think there may have to be some innovative way of working now. I don't know. It's very interesting. A lot of times I feel like I'm in a movie, to be quite honest, Tanya.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely have a new normal. I have some other resources I want to share with the firms that are listening. For those of you who have issues with being out of work, the U.S. Department of Labor, and they're at www.dol/dol.gov. They have both an emergency paid sick leave act for people who have to take time off and need resources as a result of that. And they also have a new provision in the CARES Act for people who have unpaid leave to stay home and take care of their family with COVID-19. And that website is www.dol.gov/agencies/FMLA/pandemic. I know that was a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and just give that to you again. It's www.dol.gov/agencies/FMLA/pandemic. So those are the places that you can go on the Department of Labor website to get help with either temporary or family leave resources to help you out while you're there caring for your loved ones.
I think that's very important, because unfortunately we have to do that as a family, as a forefront. A lot of the times our family has to come first now that we are living in this pandemic. Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance, to interact with my family. So I do appreciate technology for that, because now I can FaceTime my mother if I need to talk to her, or my grandmother if I need to talk to her. That's kind of like what's now connecting us. Isn't it interesting?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And, the other thing that we can talk about is that at this very crucial time, while there are challenges with paying your rent in a business space, that may also work its way into your personal situation. And so there have been a number of rulings, regulations, policies that deal with your mortgage, late fees and delinquencies, and that you won't be reported to credit bureaus. There have been uh, rules that don't allow foreclosures or legal proceedings to go forward. And that's being managed primarily by the Federal Housing Financing Agency. And I'll give you that email. It's www.fhfa.gov. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can get information on forbearances and other help, please reach out to the Federal Housing Finance Agency, and they can give you information about what to do if you're having mortgage difficulties and need to get some information around being able to not be charged late fees or delinquencies or deal with foreclosures or credit.
Yeah, that's a really great resource because, dealing with a pandemic just added on fees and more, fees to pay when you don't have the resources to pay for them. It really alleviates a lot of that stress.
Yeah. And, I was thinking also about the fact that we just experienced what would normally be one of the biggest holidays of the year. And we all had to observe both Easter and Passover very differently from the way we would normally engage with our families. I saw quite a few people doing Zoom calls for Easter, bringing all the people in to
Yeah.
the same space virtually, but it's just not the same as being there with your mama and your grandma around the table.
No, absolutely not. I did saw a lot of innovative ways where family were kind of doing potluck meals, but they were doing it from home and they were sharing that experience online. And
Yeah,
again, it's a new way of it's really like a new normal of what you have to experience. It's been almost like a month now for us, which I'm finding it so hard to believe that we've been doing this now for an entire month. Um, but yeah, it's actually a new normal.
yeah. And I know that a lot of people are food insecure and don't have everything they need, but to the extent that you do, I really want to ask people to support our neighborhood and community businesses and restaurants that are still open, whether it's with food delivery or you order it and go pick it up. I know you can't sit in the restaurant anymore, but the more that we support them, it's a greater likelihood that they're going to be here after the end of all this.
Yes, absolutely. So this is definitely a time that if you can, you should definitely support your local businesses and just let them know that, we still care. And then, our new interaction is here, but we're gonna be back once this is over. And I've also noticed that there's been a lot of good Samaritans throughout the neighborhood. A lot of people have been paying on groceries for older adults, which is actually something that's very tender, because a lot of times older adults are just buying the necessities that they want. A lot of times they can't even buy their necessity. They're just buying what they can with either credit cards or whatnot because they don't have the actual resources. So it's such a nice moment where you can see that Good Samaritans are out there paying for their groceries and just helping them and be of support.
That's true. And above all else, we really need to let all of our business owners and their employees know that we want them to stay safe, wear the rubber gloves, wear your mask, try not to come in contact with too many people. We want you to be healthy and able to be ready to come back and jump back into your businesses and recover from what's been a really devastating condition here.
Yeah, it's very devastating. I think looking at the news can create a little bit of anxiety. So you have to think of the positive of, your health. Look at as many silver linings as you can possibly can because looking at the news can be a little devastating for your mental health.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now is all there he is.
Hi, Tony.
Well,
You're back.
How are you? We've been talking about you throughout the show.
well, Murphy's Law is what it is. And it's funny because it wasn't the internet was working. Actually, we went into Netflix. We came back. I don't know why. It was this. And I'm here.
Tony, you're a little bit choppy. You may need to take your close your phone down if you've got computer audio.
The phone is down.
Okay, there you go. We hear you now.
But so how are things going? I'm sure you guys were able to. It's always better. It's always better to have a situation that works just as good, if not better, when you're not there.
Well, we always need you here because you are our history and you are the person that continues to make sure that we have this platform to share all of this information with people.
Absolutely.
Well, based on my hair and I'm beginning to look like history.
Well, my hair is so awful, Tony. I had to put a picture up. I'm sorry, but it does not fit to be seen.
I guess I have to talk to Matt to get a picture too, because
okay. I guess next time that's what I'll do then.
No, Charlene,
no, you look fine.
You're doing great.
You're doing great, and Charlene. I'm so happy to see you, boy. This transition is something.
It really is, Tony. We've been talking with the firms to tell them about loan and grant resources, mortgage relief, food access, labor policies, HR information, just everything that they really might need pro bono legal services to have access to in order to make sure that they're positioned and ready to jump back in when things open up again.
And I know that which will come out on Thursday, I received information, I guess it was from you, about the Columbia Business School, and they had a special site up that helped counsel small businesses to get some of the grants and loans.
That's right. And we talked about that a little bit. And what we said was that what we're hearing from the SBA and the banks is that so many applications have been filed that those that are in the queue will more than absorb the first 250 billion that they've allocated. But I think that Congress is working to allocate an additional 250 billion for small business funding. And I don't want to be political, but thank God for the Democrats, because they are holding firm and insisting that at least half that money go to minority, women, and small businesses in disadvantaged communities.
Well, it makes sense, seeing as how it seems like a lot of the impact is affecting those communities. There's been a lot of discussions about looking at who's riding the subways, who have to go to work, who can't be on a mobile work routine, who actually have to be there. And those people tend to be Black and brown. And
are more exposed to the disease, which shows why we're dying in higher numbers.
Well, that's a controversy too, because the more I dig into this, the more I see that those numbers, I think the books are being doctored a little bit. When you start to look at the fact that some of the hospitals get a little bit more money if they put someone on a ventilator than if they don't, and some of the numbers of people, and I keep hearing people who might have seemed to have had the flu, but then by the time they went into the hospital and was put on a ventilator, the next thing you know that they were gone. So I don't know. I think that some of the numbers that we're hearing may be doctored a little bit, unfortunately.
Well, one of the things that we know is grossly unfair is that New York has been the epicenter of this COVID pandemic, and patients in Nebraska, Nebraska hospitals are getting reimbursed at $300,000 a patient from this CARES stimulus program. New York patients or hospitals are getting reimbursed at $12,000 per patient.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense. But even with that, though, I I think that a lot of people are being lumped into the COVID-19 scenario because of whatever the amount of funds that there are, they seem to be more than if someone just has a flu or has a heart attack. And you know, I'm not, there are a lot of conspiracy theories out there. However, um, some of this stuff seems to be crazy as it relates to how these numbers seem to be projecting. But then again, there's the only thing that we can do is what we're doing to try to make as much information available for those who are in need of it and hope for the best.
That's true. And, without getting political, I just want to say, I don't know if you saw,
Everything is political.
Obama endorsed Biden today. And
Uh,
people, when it's time to vote like your life depends on it, because it does.
well, everything is political, and the more you start to understand that from the day that you're born, you have a birth certificate, and when you die, you have a death certificate, and everything between that. So when people say that they're not political, that's not necessarily being, as they say, that's an oxymoron. That's everything is political, and local politics is probably the most important, and that is interesting. But we've lost the election. I mean, there's no. When last have you heard anything about? I mean, you know, you know, even the fact that Biden, is now the designated hitter. I didn't see that I haven't seen that on the news as much as it would have been if we weren't talking about this, or the fact that Bernie dropped out. That's a
Right.
lot, you know. So, my good friend Matt McCoy, who's the host of our show, Soul City Network, seems to believe that the elections, people know who's going to be where they're going to be before they're there. And that's been going on for a long period of time. And the more I look at things, the more I'm beginning to feel that may be what the case is. However, again, as the saying goes, when elephants fight, only the ground gets hurt, So,
Well, I did want to make one comment, and it's unfortunately a sad mention, but I'm not sure that everyone has heard that we lost the Dr. Roy Hastic to
yes, I
the
get that.
COVID virus. And Dr. Hastic was the president and founder of the Caribbean Chamber of
Yeah, thank
Commerce,
you.
and he's been doing work in New York for Black and brown businesses for the last 40 years. And it was really an icon that we lost last week.
And again, the issue, and Roy is a good example. Roy has had challenges for a long period of time. He has with overcome a lot of that, but again, everyone who is of a certain age who go into the hospital tends to be lumped into this COVID-19 thing, and I don't know when that is or how that can be really looked at. But even in Italy, I was reading a report about how many people who have been put into the COVID-19 scenario were not necessarily supposed to be there.
Hmm.
Um, but again, there's some things that you know, someone that's wiser than I might have to be able to look at. But the important thing is what we're doing and trying to make sure that the people have the information that they need. Um, there are a lot of people. You do know Stellum Methodist Church is doing families needs and groceries for families and individuals, and Man is doing the same thing. There are a number of organizations that are providing support for those who might need it. And actually, the tourism board was doing that last week. It was last Wednesday that they was giving out food for a number of people at a Renaissance restaurant, and the 100 Black Men was doing the same on Easter for many of the people at Harlem Hospital. So what is happening is that there are a lot of people coming together, which is a good thing to begin to talk. And it seems that from what I'm hearing, our president is saying that pretty soon he's going to open up the restrictions, even though some of the governors, including our own, are saying that they are not necessarily going to do that. So there, again, elephants are fighting about who has the right to do what. So it's going to be interesting. My
Yeah,
own, huh?
indeed. I did want to mention one other thing that just today, Columbia opened a field hospital on our athletic campus. We
Oh,
had, uh, I'm not sure how many beds it is, but we had a structure seasonal athletic structure that covered our soccer field,
mhm.
which we were able to convert into a field hospital. And that opened just today. And why that's important is because there are so many people that are Black and brown, and a lot of the people getting sick are in the Bronx and other places,
Right.
Washington Heights. And we need medical facilities that can accommodate those people in Upper Manhattan and near the Bronx.
Mm. And that's, yeah, well, that is an important thing. And one of the things that I still can't get my head around is that when the comfort came in, it was supposed to be for people who were not infected by the COVID virus. But for some reason, no, that not that many people were using or being sent there. So they turned it around to make it another place for the COVID victims to be. So, I'm looking at how the resources are being distributed, and sometimes it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does seem like we have a lot of maybe not what we need and not enough of what we do. I think the whole testing thing is still huge, and there just aren't enough people being tested. And I don't know that we can go back to normal until we understand that this particular virus has been eradicated from our city and our community.
Which brings a whole nother issue, which is somewhat concerned and goes back to the voting, is that um, there's a lot of conversation, especially online. A lot of people are online because they have nothing else to do, but about there will be a move for mandatory vaccinations to the point where if you want to get a driver's license, you might have to show that you've been vaccinated. And when you hear that and you start thinking about conspiracy theory, look at the schools. I mean, if your child is going to school, they have to be vaccinated. So, um, it's kind of scary in a sense, especially when you look at the people who have money invested in vaccinations. You know, a lot of times you can say it's conspiracy theory, but as it has always been said, if you follow the money, you know, that tends to create a certain type of a clear pathway as to well, who benefits from all of this.
Well, Tony, I don't think it's a conspiracy theory at all. I mean, a tiger at the Bronx Zoo got tested, and I can't get tested. What's wrong with that picture?
That's
Well,
I think, yeah.
well, to tell you the truth, there will never be, in my view, a way for everyone to be tested, because I don't know whether there's. I mean, it's possible. I mean, just like you have the pH test strips that you can, buy to find out what your immune system is, which is the best way to keep yourself healthy anyway. But it's all on a profit basis, and I'm hoping, because this is something that I'm also seeing, that, as they say, there's a change going to come. There's supposed to be some movements to begin to change some of this type of activity, and the bad actors are supposed to be exposed. What that will do, or if that will happen, I'm not sure. But we're in the age of Aquarius, as they say. That's the age of awakening, and there has to be a way to, one, eliminate the fear. I keep hearing many professionals, especially psychologists, who are saying that fear is more harmful than the disease, even to the fact of being people who are alone and can't go out or can't interface with people creates issues as well. And
Well, Tony, I certainly hope we are going to be around and staying strong and well so we can continue to provide important information to our small and minority and women-owned businesses. I so appreciate Matt McCoy, who has this wonderful Soul City Network. And they've got chyrons. We're fancy now, Tony. We can actually show the websites that we're talking about. Matt has them going across the screen. It's pretty exciting. And we can also take copies of this recording and put it on our other outlets so people get this important information.
And one of the things too that, and I'm glad that a lot of people will be able to see this, because it gives me the opportunity to thank you and Charlene for all that you guys do to make this particular segment of the Urbanology show, the second Tuesday in the month, so beneficial for so many people. You guys are really a godsend, and I want to publicly thank you both for all of the work that you're doing, not only for Urbanology in our show, but to be able to see you grow and all of the different things that you guys are doing. I appreciate it, and thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for giving us a platform to serve.
Absolutely, I agree.
Well, again, and sorry that I wasn't able to be with you guys. I was there in spirit.
Always.
And I'm sure Matt was saying I need to get this together, because I think we have another Zoom on 5:30. So and which is one of the other things too. People know where you are now, so you can't hide. The only thing you can say is my phone is not working and my internet is down, and that's only excuses. But that wasn't what I was doing with you guys. But it just gave me some ideas for some of the other things.
And the dog ate your homework, right?
Which I shouldn't say publicly, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to this hour every week, and thank you so much. And thank you to all of our small businesses. Stay strong, stay well, and we'll look forward to seeing you next month.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be, business will be going on next month. The warmer it gets, the better we're going to be, I'm sure. Thank you both. And I'll see you the first Tuesday next month. I mean, the second
Okay.
Tuesday.
Second Tuesday will be here.
Tuesday, we'll be here.
Take
All
care.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.